we get passionate about issues, and again, I admit I didn't wake up this morning and animal control was not an issue that I thought I would be talking about at the end of this day, but here I am. And um, Brandy, hat tip to you. And I apologize putting you in this position, but you've got some history and background here, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Is it Cordell or Cornell?
It's Cornell.
Okay. I saw that and I did a little history on you, kind of looking back on you, and this isn't your first rodeo in dealing with animal control issues, is it?
No, it is not, sir.
I got you. I got you. Um, so years ago, and before we kind of get into the modern day stuff, this isn't the first rodeo for Bossier City as it pertains to animal control, because kind of how I learned about you was, going back through time, all the way back to 2011, I saw some KTBS articles that Bossier City had problems in the past. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
That's accurate.
What
So,
in your words,
yeah.
what were those problems?
At that time, I felt like the problems were dogs and cats were being inhumanely euthanized.
In what type of manner? I mean, because again, this is Rex, and welcome to the show. I'm kind of new into all this. So maybe walk us through, if you know, what the typical humane way is, and then what you maybe witnessed as what you consider as inhumane.
Um, the way they euthanized the dogs and cats they just were not doing it properly. They were doing it in a harsh way and an inhumane way, which was painful for the animals.
Okay, and that's fair enough. I mean, so I was reading through the article, and basically, correct me if I'm wrong. The way it's typically done is there's an injection made that minimizes or eliminates the pain that the dog, or I guess cat or whatever, would feel. And if that doesn't go ahead and expire the dog, so to speak, then there's a second injection or procedure or whatever is done. And then hopefully the animal passes with that and doesn't feel any pain. Is that the way it should work?
Yes, the animals should be humanely euthanized without feeling any pain. And at that time, that was not happening all the time.
Hmm. And so, did you report this, to higher ups, or how did it how and take us back in time a little bit? How did it get to the news media?
It went from, yes, I reported it to the next step up. At the time, it was Dell was the next one up. And me and another volunteer went and talked to him. And he kind of felt like he knew what was going on, but he said he would take care of the issue at the time, and he did not. So we just had to keep going further up until the news contacted me because somebody contacted them, and that's how it started with the news.
Okay. Okay.
Gotcha. So,
We
you
did,
know,
we did go through it privately, tried to go up the chain, and it didn't work. So somebody contacted the news.
Okay.
so and actually there were two separate things. One, there was a lady, and I'm wondering if it's there's a Lopez commenting on our show live tonight, but there was an individual that uh, they shut down from trying to promote adoptions and rehoming even back then. That was a volunteer, and they shut that down back then to the I'm assuming, I can't remember the date, but 2011, 2018, somewhere in that time frame, as well as the issue of how they were performing euthanizations. So there were actually a couple of problems back then, and I think the former Mayor Walker was quoted as saying they were going to take a stab at it back then. And I found those to not be inspiring words considering the subject matter. But is that accurate?
And that is correct. They had just a lot of issues then, and they're still having a lot of issues now.
So, in your opinion, what are some of the current issues that they're having now? Is it still with the methods that they're euthanizing, or is it some other problems? And again, this is your opinion that they're having, or can you kind of, or is it just overall a cluster?
Well, it is overall. I do not know about the being dogs or cats being euthanized because I was helping Judy with the Bossier Parish dogs in Benton, Louisiana, out in Benton. So I wasn't particularly helping the Bossier. I was actually helping the parish dogs.
All right. And so, again, forgive me for not knowing all this because I'm like Duke, brand new down this rabbit hole today. But educate me on how the process works. Does Bossier, the parish, and the police jury have their own animal control, or do they outsource to the city? Or do they use vet clinics? I mean, how does all that work?
Well, what they do is they do have outdoor runs out in Benton, and they do have it's not really a facility, but they do have an office out there for the ACOs, and they do have some outdoor runs. So I was told that they basically have a contract with Bossier City Animal Services. I asked to see that contract. I haven't seen the contract, but they said they have a contract with Bossier City Animal Services. So every dog that comes through from the parish that goes to Bossier City Animal Services, they do get $72.50. If I'm not correct, I think it's $72.50 for every dog that goes through there.
Okay,
Oh, so
so
there's money changing
okay,
hands.
so
That is
that's where
correct.
I want. That's where I wanted to jump in here. So there's a money factor in this thing here, and so
Yes.
as I understand it, Miss Judy, and I think you just said Miss Judy, right?
Yes, I work very closely with Miss Judy.
Okay, so sources tell us that Miss Judy was let go, and some of the things that transpired with Miss Judy was that she was told that the city got mad and that they were going to stop taking parish animals and that especially like rescue animals, and that Bossier City was not happy. And part of the reason they weren't happy was because they weren't getting any money and they weren't getting credit, for rescue efforts. Have you heard anything like
That is,
that?
yes, that is correct. I was out there helping Judy. Um, Basically, I'm a networker. I call myself. I go out there and help Judy get some pictures and videos, and then I network them to my rescue partners in town and obviously out of state. Um, and we were saving most of the dogs that were in the parish. Very, very few even had to go to Bossier City Animal Services.
Now,
Um,
Brandy, I have to stop you, and I'm gonna put pause on you for a second. Rex, does that
Mm-hmm.
sound like vanity to you because they weren't getting credit?
I know.
Are you are you freaking kidding me?
What are
Because
we
the
going to have to
one
name a bridge or
they're
shelter after them or something?
so they're not getting money and they're not getting credit. So what are they going to do? Oh, good
Yes.
grief. Okay, I'm sorry, Brandy. I had to stop. I had to go ahead. Finish your story. I'm sorry.
no, we hardly had any dogs go to Bossier City at all. We were saving almost every single dog that came through there. Um, there
Now,
was
when
a
you
few
you were
that we couldn't
saving
save that were
you were
aggressive or
you were saving them, meaning you were finding homes for them to go to.
I was sending them to reputable 501c3 rescues. And those
Gotcha.
rescues would pay everything for the dogs to be vetted and transported to their rescues.
So
Okay.
so that's not costing the taxpayers of Bossier Parish any money, right?
That is correct. Actually, me and probably about two other volunteer citizens in the community paid for all the vaccinations, paid for all the dewormer, and paid for all the heartworm tests that went to every single dog out there in the Bossier Parish
Wait,
when I was
wait a minute,
helping.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Stop, stop. You're telling me that all the animals that you guys, volunteers, that you guys were covering the cost of the medications. Did you say food? Did you say food too?
And we have another volunteer would drive down, and he's from out of state, and he would help and bring down food that Miss Judy would feed the dogs. That is correct. He
All
brought
right.
down some high quality food, so they were not paying for food, vaccinations, or heartworm tests or anything. That is correct.
Okay, so I got a question then. Where does this $72.50 or whatever the amount, if that's the correct amount, where does that come into play in all of this?
Well, I was told by Eric Hudson on the phone. I did get a phone call. We were texting, and he said he doesn't like to text. He would like to talk on the phone, which I totally understand. There's no paper trail there. He told me that he did appreciate that Judy and I were saving dogs from the parish, but Bossier City Animal Services is very upset that they are not getting the credit, the positive outcomes, or they're not getting the funding from the dogs going filtering through from parish to Bossier.
I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion that it was the funding side of that. And just so you know, Louisiana is a one-party state, so as long as you're a party to the phone call or the conversation, you can record the phone call, and that gets around
and
Eric's.
That was my big mistake.
Yeah, that gets around Eric's. Yeah, his paper trail woes. So, all right. So basically, this is the way I see it. Now, Duke, you can step in and correct me, or Brandy, you correct me. Basically, the city wasn't getting paid, and so they were tired of this.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
All right, that's it in a
Okay.
nutshell. I got it.
Nope. Okay, now Rex, I have to put the bad guy hat on here for a second. I got to put it on. Brandy, I'm sorry. Look, and we pride ourselves on our show that there's no place and nobody that we won't go at. So in our comments, someone made a comment, and I want you to address this comment. They said, "What is the story of some animals being diverted and shipped off to other states at a pretty good price?" And they said,
Okay, I'm sorry.
not guide making the normal channels of owner recovery. Would you comment on that?
Well, the dogs that we save are on their stray hold, which, not including the day the dog comes in. Then after that, they have a 3-day stray hold. So basically, and actually every dog that came into the parish, Judy would send me a picture and tell me where they got picked up at. I posted that dog on social media and shared to all the pages of where to hopefully connect that dog with the owner, because that was my first priority, would be hopefully get the dog back home. If that dog did not get picked up by the owner, then I would contact my rescue partners and see if they could help save this dog. So it would have to go to Bossier City Animal Services because they do euthanize, and I was trying to avoid that. So the dogs would go to rescue. There is no pretty price on no dog's head. The only price there was if they went to Bossier City. That's when they had a price on their head, which was $72.50. None of the rescues, they paid for everything. They paid for transport. I would raise the community paid for those dogs. We raised money for health certificates so they can go out of state. And the rescues, they're lucky if they break even with their adoptions. But that's why they're not doing it. They're doing it to save lives also.
Well, I think, and I may be mistaken, what was being suggested was that, it was a market for dogs outside of the state, and that that somebody was
Well,
paying
there's
a good
because a
price?
lot of places that we send dogs to, there's spay and neuter laws. So they
Right.
are short on dogs in some areas than others. So like here we
Oh,
don't have a spay and neuter law. So other places do. So they are short on dogs, believe it or not. We don't have that problem here, obviously. So we try to send to places that that they're wanting dogs because there's a shortage because they have spay and neuter laws, and we don't
gotcha.
have any here, which we do need.
Well, that makes sense.
All right, so
Yes.
I'm trying to piece all the dots together here. Basically, nobody is really getting rich off of this, correct?
No, far from
Okay.
it. We actually probably lose, hopefully break even, but no, we mostly, especially like the volunteers and rescue, we usually lose money. That's why there's a lot of, fundraisers and things like that for, obviously these rescues do. It's because to try to raise some money just to be able to, keep saving more
Well,
lives.
well, then
And
what
I'm a
is the deal?
volunteer, so I actually lose money every time I, help a dog and, provide. And if I can't raise the money, then I pay out of my own pocket. So I actually, you know, come out of my own
Well,
pocket.
to you guys, I mean, hat tip to you guys. I mean, look, I love my dog, and I can tell you that my dog, if my dog, I said it earlier in the show, and I'm going to say it again. If my dog accidentally got loose and they picked him up, and then is that accurate? I was told within 3 days they could euthanize an animal. Is that accurate or not?
If they pick up a stray, it's 4 days if you're including the day the dog is picked up. So the day that's picked up, that's 1 day, and then 3 days after that. So it's 4 days. The dog, if could be, yes, that's correct, could be
Oh,
adopted,
okay, so
rescued, or euthanized.
Okay, so I want to paint the picture for, the 200 people watching this show live right now. If your dog or your pet gets loose and, it was an accident, they get out, and 4 days later, if Tommy the Tahoe Chandler gets your dog in Bossier Animal Control because he's trying to make his 7250, I mean, he can put your dog to sleep. And oh, by the way, he's going to prevent volunteers from getting in there like yourself and taking pictures to try to find the original owner or find somebody to rehome this dog with. I mean, am I thinking that correctly? Is that a
Yes,
possible
we were
scenario?
we
That's not
were posting the dog first, obviously to try to find connect with the owner, because I would want somebody to help me if that was my dog. Then after the 4 days, if the dog is was not claimed by the owner, then what we would do is we would try to find a rescue and get that dog safe, so it wouldn't have to go to Bossier City Animal Services. Because if it goes to Bossier City Animal Services, they're already full. They tell people they're full. They're turning people down, so why would we want any of our dogs to go there? That means they would have to euthanize our dogs when they go there, or they have to euthanize the dogs that are already in their shelter to accept the parish dogs. So my role was to step in and try to save those dogs with Judy so we can get them safely out to reputable rescue so no dogs would have to be euthanized.
All right.
But
So
we were cut off from that because I was told directly on the phone they didn't. Bossier was not. We were doing great. We were saving many dogs. I got a phone call that says this all had that Bossier City Animal Services was not happy that they weren't getting the funding from each dog that came to their shelter, or they weren't getting the positive outcome numbers, is what I was told.
all right. But here's what I'm trying to focus on. Aside from the wonderful work that you and all the other people that volunteer their time and do this, I'm trying to figure out, and Brandy, you may or may not want to comment on this so you don't get any hot water, but I'm trying to figure out what the hell, excuse the language, the incentive is for Tommy and them to screw all this up and have this bad publicity. Really. I mean, I pick on Tommy a lot, but 7250 a dog, if the city is also covering, and so it's taxpayer dollars, if the city's covering all the food and all that, and then somebody's getting paid, they're buying the food and vet supplies or whatever from one of their friends. I mean, I maybe could make a connection here, but I'm trying to figure out what the end game of all this is, because it is not a good PR campaign for stray dogs and cats and whatever other animals to be running around the city and roaming around the city. What is the end game here? Why?
To be honest, I have no idea. I wish I knew, because everybody was doing such a great job, and then we got shut down.
I mean, at 72.50, let's say 72.50 a dog. I mean, are we talking millions of dollars here, or what are we talking about?
No.
Yeah, that's my point.
When it comes from the parish, it wasn't very many dogs. There was a lot of phone calls, but the dogs that got picked up wasn't overwhelming that it could be. I mean, it's obviously overwhelming for everyone, especially for the ACOs, but it wasn't just.
Brandy, you've been around a while. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, okay, look, all of us, I would say this for everybody: as our population as humans, is it decreasing or increasing? Obviously, it's increasing a little bit, right? So does it stand to reason that the population of animals is going to increase just a little bit, right? So Bossier, if I understand history correctly, Bossier City, when they built the Animal Control Center, they built it a certain size and they renovated it. But the catch that I understand is when they renovated the Bossier Animal Control Center, they didn't make it bigger, they made it smaller. You've been around, Brandy. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
I was told that they took out runs. I have not been there since they renovated it, to be honest, but I was told that they took out runs to make certain walls and to make certain areas. So I heard that it's for less dogs.
Well, so I got to tell y'all, here's my opinion. My opinion is it seems that Bossier City and Tahoe Tommy are more interested in euthanization and killing animals than they are on adoptions and rehoming of animals. And if you fall on the side of you think we should just kill them all, then you know what? It sounds to me like Tahoe Tommy's your guy. But if you fall on the side of you care about, you know, adoptions and rehoming and taking care of animals, you're probably not there. And that's the conclusion I'm coming to here.
Well,
That
and
this is about money. This is about money.
not just that. I mean, I posed the question, or we did, several shows ago. Was Butch Ford actually a puppy killer? And well, it sounds like he might actually be now.
Well, it comes back to Judy, Rex. I mean, Tommy Chandler in the email with, Councilman Smith, when Councilman Smith was getting, obviously, he was getting emails from, pro animal folks, and he's weighing in to try to do something about it. Obviously, from the veterinarian's email, Councilman Montgomery, Councilman Free had been getting communications, and they didn't do anything. They did nothing. And yet Councilman Smith gets it. He tries to do something. The mayor tries to shut him down. He basically pulls rank on him and says, hey, no, if you're going to have anything to do with this, you got to go directly through me. And oh, by the way, I'm handling this problem. It's handled. It's taken care of. Obviously, it's not taken care of. Or he was saying, hey, we've got it taken care of, and here's how we're going to take care of it. We're going to kill the message. And the message is Miss Judy. We're going to prevent the message from getting out about what we're doing. We're going to take the message out. And you know what they did? They got rid of Miss Judy. And that meant that Tommy Chandler had to communicate with Butch Ford or the parish or the police jury or Juliana Parks while she was partying in Washington Mardi Gras and say, hey, we need to get rid of this lady who is rehoming these dogs because it's costing us money in Bossier City. That's it.
That's it in a nutshell. Brandy, let me ask you this, and I put this question out. I think you were in the comments before the call, and you may have commented on this. But what is your opinion? You know, whether you agree with us or we agree with you, what is your opinion on what it would take to fix this issue in the city? Is it throwing more money at it? I mean, what do you think would help fix the problem? Is there a solution?
We need to spay and neuter laws. That's what number one, in my opinion, what we need is spay and neuter laws. And then when we get those, if we ever got those, then we would need to enforce those laws. That would basically help all the, so this wouldn't keep reoccurring over and over of us have to saving these dogs and watching these dogs die in our community. But the parish also needs to in my opinion, instead of giving all the money to the Bossier City, is to build their own facility to house their own dogs and, have volunteers and for us to keep saving animals.
Okay. So first thing is spay and neuter laws. Second thing is, well, we got to have an enforcement, which means punishment or fines or whatever if you don't, or whatever that is. And to be honest, I'm pretty conservative, but it is more government. But I have to say, in this case, I think it's justified.
If we don't, we will have more dogs that die. It's just and cats. It's as simple as that.
It's just a fact of the matter. Okay. Well, Duke, any more questions for Brandy? Or Brandy, is there anything more that you would like to add?
No, it just seems like this, I just want to feel like I was helping Miss Judy, and then I felt like I, was her voice, and she couldn't be the big voice, and now we were both cut off from helping.
And the problem is not getting
and saving
any
lives.
better. Yeah, it's not getting any better.
No, it's not getting any better. This was all everything was working out. We were saving lives after lives until Sherry from Bossier City Animal Services stepped in and said she wasn't happy what was happening, and everything kind of started from there.
Very interesting story. And look, I really appreciate you coming on the show and kind of being in the hot seat a little bit and telling your story, because this is very public, and certain powers that be are watching.
It's time.
This is important, and look, to Brandy and to Judy and to all of you, I saw several folks in the comments that volunteer, and to all of you guys, hat tip to you. Thank you for doing what you do. I mean, look, I would do anything for my dog. I mean, they're like a family member. They are a family. I shouldn't say like. I mean, that's degrading. They are a family member, and you know what? Thank you for doing what you do, because not everybody does it. Thank you.
Thank you for getting it out there. We need all the help we can get.
Okay, well, you're welcome back on the show anytime. If you hear any updates or anything changes, positive or negative, we do positive stuff every once in a blue moon here. But if you hear anything, just let us know. You're always welcome back on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you, Brandy. So, Rex, I got to pose a question. Here's what I got to say. Has Tommy Tahoe Chandler broken another campaign promise?
Well, surely not.
Well,
of course, the other way to look at that is he's being consistent. I mean, if he's going to break one, he may as well break them all.